Troublemakers. Thanks for listening. I'm Jenny. I'm a life coach. And today I'm talking about why empaths struggle with goals and some tricks for mindset hacking. So, why do INFJs and empaths struggle with goals? Um, One thing about goals is we see people who are successful, we define what success would mean to us, and then we're focused on that target. But success is more of a side effect than a target. It's like fishing in refracted water. You can't aim directly at it. You just have to act in alignment with yourself, and then success follows. Um, which is kind of different than what we're taught or what society teaches. Society teaches that you're just supposed to set this goal and then you're supposed to go after it and it's all supposed to work out, but it doesn't work that way for us. Um, so this can lead to us being really hard on ourselves if we're not achieving our goals. We feel like we're just not working hard enough. We're just not doing enough. We just need to do more. But if being hard on ourselves worked, it would have worked by now. So we can't compare ourselves to other personality types. We can't compare ourselves to non-empaths, and we can't compare ourselves to people who were parented better or who had more opportunities or who had less trauma. There's a lot of trauma survivors who are comparing themselves to non-survivors or people who were nurtured better or people who just had better luck. And that's not healthy, it's not productive, and it's not going to help you reach your goals. We're also kind of prone to comparing ourselves to people with an unbalanced pie. What do I mean by that? If you take someone, for example, who's really successful in business, we might be comparing ourselves to that person, but their pie might be really out of balance. They might be neglecting other parts of their life to be successful in business. And empaths and INFJs, we care about balance. We care about nurturing our relationships. We care about nurturing all the parts of our lives, not just things like business. And so it's not really fair to compare ourselves to people who are successful in one area without knowing if they're healthy in those other areas as well. Most empaths and INFJs are also neurodivergent, which means we have executive functioning problems. That means we can process very abstract, very complicated intellectual ideas, but we struggle to put those ideas into action. And so, another problem we have with empaths is you're comparing yourselves to people who do not struggle with executive functioning like we do, or don't have neurodivergent needs like we do. With people who have trauma, it also means you have more personality fragments. And the more personality fragments you have, the more internal resistance you're going to have because not all of your parts are going to be in agreement about what you're working on or when it's time to work on that thing. So there's a lot more internal resistance. All your parts kind of have to agree. So if you've ever felt like there's multiple people living inside you, um, and there's like, you want to sit down and be responsible and get work done, but you have this inner teenager who just wants to have fun and doesn't think it's time to work. They will kind of sabotage you, or you might just get exhausted when you sit down to work, or you might not be able to focus. So if you're neglecting those other parts of yourself and not keeping them also happy and not balancing out what those parts want to do, they will start to rebel and they will start to sabotage your productivity. So sometimes if you feel a lot of resistance or procrastination, sometimes it's because you're neglecting these other parts of yourself, your inner child, your inner teenagers, those rebellious parts, those parts that need a lot of self-care. And so if you can look for ways to compromise with them, acknowledge them, and indulge those sides in balance, some of that resistance will dissipate. Uh, Another thing that affects us negatively when we're trying to reach our goals is negative self-talk. A lot of us have terrible negative self-talk. We're so encouraging to other people and we're really hard on ourselves. And the worse you talk to yourself, the more support you're going to need in accomplishing those goals. The more outside help you're going to need to dilute that negative self-talk. It's really hard. It's going to be really hard also if you're surrounded by people who make you question yourself, or if you have weak boundaries and you're always giving to other people. That's not going to leave much energy left over for you to accomplish your own goals. So sometimes even just asking for help is enough to give you the boost that you're going to need. Sometimes all that you need is to feel supported by someone non-judgmental. And sometimes we have to pay for this with therapy or with coaching. All that really matters is to feel supported. They don't have to be perfect, right? You don't need a therapist who can see so deep into the root of all these things. Really, all you need is someone who's not judgmental and who makes you feel supported. And a lot of the time, that is enough to give us the extra energy we need to work on our goals. Empaths and INFJs are also old souls. Regardless of our physical age, we are old souls, and old souls need to move more slowly. They need to move more gently. They can't just push, 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 push like some of these other personality types can and be really aggressive in chasing our goals. So, another tip is to just slow down because we're ancient. And we do better when we honor that we're ancient. That goes for exercise, investing money, finishing projects, finding partners, processing thoughts. If you take your time, you will actually get there faster instead of breaking a metaphorical hip, um, which is hard because we're usually often also impatient. So, taming impatience might be another challenge here as well. The first step in wanting to do things is to stop feeling like you should. So turn your goals from a need to do into a want to do, because shoulds bring in negative energy and they only matter if they work, and they usually do not. So really stop and ask yourself, is shoulding on me working? Because if it's not working, then just throw it out. Don't should on yourself. The energy behind the goal matters, why you're doing it. And if the why is a should, that's a very low vibration. Okay. It's not going to help you feel motivated. I mentioned impatience a little bit, but um, to go along with that, you can only plant the seeds, you cannot rush the harvest. Usually, with goals, our goals are very creative. And so, with creative projects, you can't rush the harvest, right? You can't make a tomato plant ripen. Okay, you just have all you can do is plant the seeds and tend to it regularly. Give it the attention it deserves, right? Your projects need love and attention, but you can't decide when the harvest is going to be, right? Your project decides. And so just look for ways to enjoy the wait. Tend to your projects regularly, give them attention, and then look for ways to enjoy the wait. The difference between unhealthy achievement and healthy achievement is, who are you doing it for? Are you doing it for external approval? Are you doing it because it's what your parents expect of you? That's also going to poison the energy around your goals if they're for other people's approval more than your own. We're also not good at recognizing our own accomplishments. It's really hard for us to stop, look behind us, look at how far we've come, and just appreciate what we have achieved so far. So, celebrating your wins is hard. It feels indulgent. It feels like we don't deserve it, but that's also really important. Um, and we're also really scared of ridicule and criticism and rejection, but the hate that you receive from others is proportional to the audacity of your goals. So if you think of it that way, you can see hate as a sign that you're on the right path. And if you plan on getting hate, it's a lot less triggering. And if you just accept that it's going to happen, if you almost think of it like, I'm doing this on purpose, um, the fear is the worst part. So if you just trick yourself into thinking you're going to receive hate on purpose, it removes the fear, which is the hardest part about all of this. We also use too much structure on our creative projects as a way to manage anxiety. And so letting go of structure actually helps you to be more creative. You need to think about having a rhythm over a routine. Um, so, so try to plan unstructured time. Try not to put too much structure around your creative projects, because the paradox is that the more structure you try to force on anything creative, the less creative you will be. Um, we can also be too committed to our mistakes. We're overly loyal to our relationships. We're overly loyal to our projects if it's not working. There's something called a sunk cost fallacy, where the more you've invested in something, the less likely you are to quit just because you've invested in it, and not because it's the wrong choice, the wrong decision, it's not working out. So give yourself permission to quit when something's not working. If it's important to you, you don't want to quit then, but really stop, check in with yourself, ask yourself if that project is still important to you. Just the fact that you've invested time and energy into it is not enough to just keep pushing and to keep forcing yourself. Pay attention to what feels right, to what is important to you now. Um, so we can also be too far ahead of the curve. We can have these really innovative ideas, and we can see, how it would help the planet, help the world, and then we go after those ideas and it's just silence, it's just crickets, no one's interested, so we give up. And then maybe a few years later, all of a sudden it's popular now. This is true for like self-help, it's true for spirituality, it's true for shamanism. It's like we're all into this special interest, and we can't get any traction on it because the general public doesn't care. So we give it up, we put it away, and then lo and behold, after we've given up, now it's popular all of a sudden. So we're really good at predicting the future. We're very future oriented. We're usually ahead of the curve, ahead of other people. And so that's another thing that can happen, is we give up too easily, or we start too soon, when we really just need to be patient and hang in there. Um, Sometimes when it feels hard, we think that means we're doing it wrong, but there's a very good chance that you're doing it right and it's hard anyway. Sometimes things are just going to be hard, whether you're doing the right thing or not, and there's less competition for hard things. The fishing is best where the fewest go, and the collective insecurity of the world means that everyone is aiming for, you know, easy and low hanging fruit. And there is less competition. There is actually less competition for bigger goals. So if something is hard, that's good, because it means there will be less competition. Self doubt also gets in the way of our goals, but everything has a hard stage. There's different stages of competence, and the first one is unconscious incompetence, where you don't know. You're unaware of your lack of knowledge and skill. You don't know what you don't know. And that is the first stage. The second stage is conscious incompetence. And that is where you become aware of how much you suck or lack skill. Okay, so this is a stage. Feeling this way is a stage on the way to achieving competence, is knowing that you suck at something. The next stage is conscious competence, where you start to learn the necessary skills, and you're aware of what you're doing and you can explain it to others. And unconscious competence is where you become so good at it that it becomes like muscle, memory. You can do it while you're multitasking, you can do it effortlessly. Okay. And so we hit the stage of conscious incompetence very often and give up because we have self doubt and because we don't know that that is a necessary stepping stone to reaching conscious and then unconscious competence. Most people don't even know that they suck. So if you know that you suck, you're already ahead of most people. Okay. Most people are in the unconscious incompetence stage. Um, we also often have to take an indirect path to our goals, right? And if we can't see the whole path, then we don't feel comfortable moving forward or taking that first step. But a lot of the time, you can't see step number two until you've already taken step one. With goals that work like this, it's like there's a fog and you can only see a little distance in front of you. Um, and we're afraid to act or step forward until we can see the whole path, but often it doesn't happen that way. Often the second step does not appear until you've already taken the first one. Earth is also just a simulation. So think of it as just try to take it less seriously, treat it like a game, treat it like an experiment. Most decisions are not permanent. Most decisions, if you fail, those failures can be fixed or at least remedied. So think about how serious is it, if you take a risk, if you fail, how serious is it really? And just think of Earth as a video game, treat it like a game, treat it like an experiment, try to take yourself less seriously. And another place that empaths get stuck is in overthinking loops. And the way to get out of that is just to do what feels best. Okay. So, um, thinkers, if you're into Myers-Briggs, there's thinking personality types and there's feeling personality types. Thinkers make decisions based on what's logical, and feelers make decisions based on what feels best. But the world and society mostly teaches us, at least in Western society, that everyone should be making decisions based on what's logical. And that's not true because if you're a feeling personality type, logic is a weakness and feeling is your strength, which means the world is telling you to use your weakness like it's a strength. Feeling matters. It's not illogical. It just can't be explained, right? It's not illogical as far as it doesn't matter or it should be ignored. It's illogical as far as it cannot be explained. But if you make decisions based on what feels best when you're a feeling type, that's when you're making decisions from your strength, from your stack of strengths. Okay. So a lot of the times, what we really need to do is simplify. We're overthinking, and what we really need to do is listen to our feelings, listen to our intuition, and simplify. Um, and so your homework is to write down your goals, label what is a want and what is a should. And then I want you to make them intrinsic. So then I want you to turn it from a need to do or a should do into a want to do. Write it in a way that makes it, I want to do this. Okay. And then I want you to fold it up, I want you to put it away, and I want you to take 1 month off from caring completely. Take 1 month off from thinking about it, put it away. You can come back to it after a month. Okay. So I'm going to tell you one more time. Write down all your goals. Step one, don't think about how you're framing them or how you're writing them. The first step is just to write them as you think of them in your head. Then the next step is to label what is a want and what is a should. What feels like a should. I should do this versus I want to do this. Then I want you to rewrite them so they're all intrinsic. So instead of I want to get good grades, that would be extrinsic. It would be I want to learn more about this thing. That would be intrinsic. Okay. And then, yeah, you're trying to turn it from a need to do into a want to do, and then fold it up, put it away, take 1 month off from caring about it. That's everything I have for today, everybody. Thanks for listening. If you want coaching or if you want more content, check out my website. The links are in the description. Thanks so much.